What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim with another ride sharing video. At risk of looking like a Rastafarian, I am out here on a bike ride. Want to talk about the current ongoing strike taking place in New York City at one of the nation's largest airports, LaGuardia, from noon today till midnight this evening. Now, the drivers are obviously striking for the same song and dance, pay, safety issues, ridiculous deactivations of things of that nature. Now, I've said in a host of videos that I do not believe strikes work. I'm not going to go into the entire spiel on why I believe strikes, ride-sharing strikes, are ineffective, other than just to say anytime an employer or the adversary or your opposition knows when a strike is going to end, you are at a disadvantage. And the drivers have announced that the strike will end at midnight tonight. So it's a 12-hour strike. However, the reason I'm bringing the video to you is that I guess the best way to judge on whether a strike will be effective or not is the aftermath of it. And when I talk about aftermath, I mean, what do we have to look back on after the strike is over? Now, despite my not believing that strikes have any major effect, the rideshare professor does another channel. I encourage you folks to take a look at his material. Most of you already do. And he's promoting multiple strikes all over America. Now, even though I don't believe strikes have a significant amount of effectiveness, I like the idea of at least drawing the media's attention to what we're going through, which is why I'm going to talk about my quest in regards to what is the aftermath of a strike. Now, what the rideshare professor is doing is literally constantly launching strikes in different markets all over the country, targeting the main access points, airports, high traffic areas, and essentially trying to get the message out of what us drivers are going through from the media, because the media is covering these strikes. But what do I mean by the aftermath? Well, the aftermath is what happens after the strike is over. Where is the media? When I talk about successful aftermath, I'm talking about the media having a story of why it was difficult to get a ride during the time the strike was in session. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be happening. Now, right now they have a strike at LaGuardia that I just talked about. Let's see what happens after the strike has concluded. Will there be any media stories explaining to passengers, explaining to rideshare users why you had a hard time getting a ride at LaGuardia Airport during the time of this strike? If there is no story, that means there was very little difficulty obtaining a ride, meaning that the strike had very little, if not any, effect at all. Now, we know there are going to be drivers that are going to cash in on the fact that there is no longer an oversaturation of rideshare drivers at the airport, that are going to cash in on surges and bonuses that Uber and Lyft will implement, usually to counteract the effect of a strike. So if you can have a strike, but the rideshare companies can put out a surge or a bonus and get drivers to go around the issue of being unified with the drivers, then how effective is the strike? Not to mention there still is a large taxi cab market in the city of New York. So what is the likelihood that they're going to participate in an Uber or Lyft strike? Uber and Lyft came along to get rid of the taxi market. Uber and Lyft drivers, I don't give a shit how much you hate the damn companies. If you are an Uber or a Lyft driver, you're an enemy of the taxi market. So the taxis have no loyalty to the company or any of us drivers, because all of our goals was to get rid of the taxi cab folks. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a hell of a lot of taxi cab drivers that are either laughing or taking joy in the fact that us Uber and Lyft drivers get fucked over so much, because we fucked them over originally. Not to sound like Joe Pesci in the drive-through issue, but yeah, they fuck you in the drive-through. So I wanted to find out from you folks if you've heard of any aftermath media coverage of strikes in any of these other locations. They've had strikes at Los Angeles, there were strikes at O'Hare, there have been strikes in Florida. We've had a number of strikes all over this country. Have you ever heard of an aftermath media story that covered the damage that a strike did while it was going on? When I say aftermath, saw an article online, an article in the newspaper, a news media story on television that is telling the passengers why it was so difficult to get a ride during the course of the strike. Because yours truly, I don't believe that problem exists. I believe that when we have strikes, there are enough drivers that do not honor the strike, do not unify with the other drivers, show no sense of loyalty, to the point where if you are a passenger, the worst amount of damage you might incur is a little bit of surge pricing. But I do believe there are generally enough drivers still on the road to really make our strikes virtually ineffective. But let me know in the comments, you guys, folks, and particularly if you happen to be in the New York City area. As you can see, I'm just out here riding my bike, enjoying the day. I'd love to hear from you folks. But yeah, we'll talk about it in the comment section. But I'm curious to see, has there ever been any aftermath that was noteworthy on us rideshare drivers having a strike? Once again, it is your boy Tim. I'll see you in the next video.